As Jamie said, we're going to focus on the writing task 2 today, and specifically problem solution essays. Okay, so we're going to look at the question, recognizing the question, planning your answer, and then developing your ideas in the essay itself. Okay. So we'll just have a look at that. Yeah, so understanding exactly which questions are problem and solution essays, and then planning and developing through, and some good linking phrases that you can use to introduce your causes and to introduce your solutions. Okay, very important to make it clear to the examiner when you're talking about the causes and when you're talking about the solutions. Okay, so let's have a look at the question first of all. If everybody could just read the question on the slide, and tell me, what is the main topic here? What situation are we dealing with? Just put your ideas in chat. What's the topic of this question? Okay, yeah, traffic congestion or traffic jams is another way of putting it. Yeah, so that's the problems with traffic motto. Yeah, okay. And then how do we know this is a problem solution essay? Okay, yeah, they waste time. Yeah, so we have the 2 questions. They ask about the causes and then they ask about the solutions. Okay, so when you see those words, you know it's a problem solution essay, and you can also use that language in your essay. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is underline the key words. What do we need to focus on here? So which words would you underline if you had this question in your exam? Okay, yeah, very good, Fawaz. Large cities, also owner there, the solutions, wasting their time motto, very good. Traffic congestion, this is going very fast. Yeah, Rajneet, wasting hours. Okay, so those are all of the key pieces of information that we need to include in our essay. Okay. And then you're going to decide what you're going to put in your essay. So it's very important before you start writing that you have a plan in place and you know which arguments you are going to include. Okay. You don't need to talk about all of the causes and all of the solutions. You need to have probably 2 on each side would be very good. Okay, so we need to make a little plan for the body of our essay. So first paragraph, we can talk about the causes, and second paragraph, we talk about the solutions. Okay, very simple structure, very straightforward. Okay, so can you suggest some causes we might use? What might we mention as causes of traffic congestion? Okay, very good, Sarah. Too many cars. Maybe Shaz, it's the population. Okay, weak infrastructure, Malik, I like that. Population explosion, Sangeeta, very good. High volume of vehicles. Yeah, okay, very good. So we've decided to go for lack of public transport and the fact that most people are moving at the same time. They have the same working day. Okay. So you can see there are 2 causes. It's always a good idea to think of 2 ideas in each of your body paragraphs. So then we're going to have 2 solutions as well. So what solutions would you suggest to traffic congestion? Okay, motor, more means of transport, yeah, or Ravikant, better infrastructure, Okay, more public transport we're getting from a lot of people. Raoul, flexible working hours, that's very good. Yeah, carpooling, very nice, Moto. Okay, reduce the number of private cars, Morale. So we've gone for invest more in public transport and change the working schedules for different facilities, okay? Because that was one of our causes. All right, so 2 causes, 2 solutions. Don't try and put in all of the causes and all of the solutions. You will end up just listing ideas without any supporting evidence, okay? So let's look at what it's going to look like, the essay. So your introduction, we will look at each of these parts in detail in a moment. So we have our introduction. We have body A, where we're going to explain the cause. So first of all, we state the cause. Then we explain in more detail what we mean, and then give a consequence of that, and give an example, a more specific example to support your ideas, okay? You would do that with one cause, and then you would do the same thing with the second cause, okay? So we've just got one here, but you would have 2 causes in body A, okay? Then in our second paragraph, we move down to solutions. We state the solution clearly. We explain it a little bit more. And very importantly, how it solves the problem. Okay, when you have a solution essay, you've got to make sure that you include the consequence. Okay. And again, we can give an example, a concrete example of this solution. Okay. And then finally, in our conclusion, we're going to summarize what we've said so far. Okay, so that's your format for the essay. Okay, so let's have a look at the introduction. So the first part of the introduction, we want to paraphrase the question to give our background statement. So there's different ways that you can paraphrase. Can anybody tell me some of the different ways that you can paraphrase the question? What can we use? Okay, very good. So first of all, we can use synonyms. So we're using different vocabulary. Okay. What other ways can we, okay, very good. Sorry. We can actually change the form of the word, so we can change an adjective to a noun or a noun to a verb, okay? Or Patricia, yeah, very good. We can use the passive voice. If it's in the active form or if it's in the passive form, we can change it to an active form, okay? So don't think just synonyms. That's one way of paraphrasing, but we can change the word form. We can also change the order of the question, and we can change from active to passive. Okay. So let's have a look. So what we're going to do now is try and look at some of these ways of changing it. And I'd like you to suggest the missing words, okay? So in the task, we have large cities. So what could we put in the gap here? Okay, populated is good. We can say, have we got, oh, urban, I like that. Frempoma, very good. Enormous, yeah, urban. Metropolitan works very well. Busy, very nice, Samira, I like that. Okay, so we went for urban centers as a paraphrase of large cities. A great deal of time, let's go into there. Okay, is lost. Yeah, very good, guys. Those who've got the passive, so like care, Pratish, Canal. A great deal of time is wasted each day. Okay, due to traffic. Well, we use congestion, and that's in the task. So yeah, traffic jams. Okay. And And jams, we would want to make it plural, okay? Congestion, uncountable, no S, jams, plural. Okay. So that's our background statement, which is paraphrasing the question. And then we're going to explain why it's a problem. Okay, you need to explain why is this something that we need to find solutions to. Okay, so we're going to explain that very clearly. So our key introductory phrase there, this is a serious issue because, okay, very clear what we're doing in this sentence. We're explaining why it's a problem. Okay. So what could we put after that? This is a serious issue because it consumes most of our time. People get too late and miss important meetings. Yeah. It results in a loss of productivity, Ram. Very nice. It causes a lot of delays, Malik. People get frustrated, Jordana. Very good. Yeah. So we put, it affects people's livelihoods and mental health. So Raoul, you're talking about stress levels, similar kind of thing. Very, very good. Okay. And then finally, we're going to do the outline statement. So this means we're going to explain what we're going to put in our essay. Okay. So you can start by saying this essay will. Okay. What would go after that? We've got the main cause. Very good. We could say discuss the main causes, introduce, examine. Very nice, Adeniki. Yeah. Or cover. So we've got consider. But of course, there's lots of different options you could use. The main causes of traffic congestion before. Think about your grammar here. Before, what do we need to have before? Yeah, very good. Introducing, suggesting. Okay, we've got the ing form, suggesting two possible solutions. Okay. So we had proposing. Okay, recommending, Ram, that would be very good as well. Suggesting, Jane. We've got different options there. Okay. So in terms of our introduction, we have the background statement, which paraphrases the task. Then we explain why this is a serious issue, which needs solutions. And then we give an outline to our essay. Okay. So then we need to go into body paragraph A. So if you remember, our two causes were lack of public transport and everybody having the same working schedule. Okay, so we need to state very clearly at the beginning that we are talking about the causes here. Okay, don't make it difficult for the examiner, make it easy for him to follow your essay. Okay, so what could be a phrase that we could use to introduce a cause? We're going to talk about one cause first. So what would be a good phrase? First of all, it's good. We need an introductory phrase. Okay, very nice, Malik. One main reason for. Okay, it's clear. Like one prime reason, Angel. But one of the major problems. Okay, very good. Okay, or here the most important cause, the most important reason. Lots of very good examples there. And remember, then you need to say is, so we're talking about one single one. Okay, is the lack of public transport. Okay, then we want to explain this in a little bit more detail. Okay, so if we look at here, we have with few alternatives, many people choose to travel by car. What's the missing word there? Okay, very good. As or since would work fine, or because we're giving the reason. So as or since or because, all of those would work very well. Okay. So we explain the cause and then we give the consequence. Okay, what happens because lots of people travel by car. Okay, so what could we put there as a linking phrase to introduce our result? Possibly, obviously, as a result, very nice, Sangeetha. Consequently, remember we're starting a new sentence here, so we can't really use leading to, but that would continue the sentence beforehand, okay? As a consequence, that is why. So we have as a result, okay? And then we can give a specific example, just quite shortly, just something to make it a bit clearer. So main roads is our specific example. So how can we introduce an example in part of a sentence? Oh, well, yeah, particularly would work, certainly such as, Azzy and Aditan. Yeah, a lot of people doing that. Like is a little bit informal. Okay, I would prefer to use such as than like in a written essay, because remember we're talking, we need to use academic English here. Okay, so such as main roads. Okay, and then we're going to move on to our second cause. Okay, so again, we need to make it very clear to the examiner that we are now talking about the second cause of traffic congestion. Okay, so how can we introduce our second cause? Okay, in addition, we need a little bit more than that. Another potential cause, very nice. Another cause to consider, another reason is. Okay, very good. Remember, we're looking at introductory sentences here. Okay, and we have gone for another key factor is. Okay, so again, very clearly now we're moving on to the second cause. Oh, yet another cause. I like that, Sangeetha. That's very nice. Okay, and then again, we're going to explain that cause in more detail. Okay, so it means the majority of people start and finish work or school at a similar time. Okay. And then again, we need to explain the consequence. Okay, why is that a problem? Why does that add to traffic congestion? We've already used as a result. We don't want to repeat anything because that shows we don't have a variety of expressions. So how can we, remember it's also a result. Okay, and we can say therefore, due to this, consequently. Good, okay, and we've gone for this means that, all right? So make sure you're using the introductory phrases, but you're also not repeating the same one, okay? That's a good point, actually, Johan. Subsequently means afterwards. Subsequently is a time expression, so it's not giving a consequence or a result, okay? All right. Another point, Awad, we're not adding a comma here because this is an introductory phrase. It's not a linking phrase. If you look at as a result, that is a linking phrase. It's a separate phrase. We follow it with a comma. But another key factor is it's an introductory phrase. It includes a verb and you don't put a comma after a verb. Okay, so that's why. All right. Okay, so then we have to give our example. So rush hour is specifically our example. So what could we, how could we introduce that? Certain times of the day. Okay, for instance, yes, specifically, in particular, very nice, Aditan. Yeah, and we've gone for instance, okay? For example, okay? So two causes clearly divided up with their supporting evidence, okay? Cause and its supporting evidence, second cause and its supporting evidence. Make sure that you have them in that order, okay? So that was our causes. Now we're moving on to our next body paragraph, which is the solutions. Okay. Just to remind you, we have them, we're going to invest more in public transport and different starting times to avoid the rush hour. Okay. So we need to show very clearly to the examiner that now we are moving on to our solutions. Okay. So this is our topic sentence. So first missing word, what could we put? Fortunately, remember we're kind of moving from one area to another. It's not really an example. It's quite a tricky one, this. It's just it's a linking phrase. Oh, we're getting there. Okay, we're contrasting between the causes and the solutions. Okay, as he has on the other hand, so that's good. Yeah, okay, that would work as well. So there are two, what adjective can we put in front of possible works, okay, simple works. Any others? Ooh, compelling, alternative, workable is very nice. I like that, Ravikant. We've gone for promising. Okay, two promising solutions. But of course, there's different adjectives that you can use. Okay. Now we need to show that we're going to talk about the first solution only. Okay. So how can we introduce that? Okay, very good. Something like firstly. Okay. Any other ideas? First of all, Stanislav's got exactly the one that we have. Awad as well. Very good. So first of all, local governments, and then we're giving a recommendation. So local, okay, very good. Local government should invest more. Okay, yeah, must consider would be investing motto, but yeah, ought to, Ashish, I was going to check about that. So we can use should, we can use ought to, we've used should, could would work as well, Aditan, yeah. It's a hypothetical suggestion, so it's better to use should or ought to than must, okay. All right. Then we're going to again explain the solution and how does it solve the problem. Yeah, if you haven't explained how it solves the problem, you haven't given a solution. So that's a very, very important part of this paragraph. Okay. So what can we put there? Okay. Think about your grammar. Okay, Adeniki, very nice. So this would, again, it's hypothetical, so would is a little bit better than will. So would make the option more attractive. Could, Ram, that would work as well. Okay. And then we can give a concrete example. Might would work as well, Sijan, that would be fine. So how can we introduce our example? Okay, for example, okay, or for instance, again, remember, whatever you've already used in the causes, make sure that you use something else. To illustrate is very nice, yeah, okay. Or to give an example, we've got for example, okay, so concrete example, my city, network of cycle paths, okay? Make sure that if you give an example, it is very specific, it's very concrete. Otherwise, it's not really an example, yeah? Okay, so that's our first solution with all of the supporting evidence for that. So now we need to move on to the second solution. And again, we need to make it very clear to the examiner, now we're moving on to our second solution, okay? So how could we introduce? We had first of all, okay, Rams put secondly or furthermore. I'd prefer secondly to lastly if you've only got two. In addition, that's very good. Yeah. Okay. So making it clear, now we're talking about a different one. So the city government, again, remember it's hypothetical and we've already used should. Okay, very good. Patricia, could. I think that would work very well. Okay. So we had could as well. Okay. So again, make sure that you're varying your vocabulary. You're not repeating the same words. Okay. And again, supporting evidence, we need to explain the solution, and we need to say, what's the consequence? How does it solve the problem? Okay. Okay, so we're adding this together. So which, yeah, will, or a little bit more hypothetically, yeah, she's would, I think, or might works very well as a hypothetical. That would be very good as well. Okay. And we don't really need to have another example here. We've already got one very concrete example. Okay. So clearly distinguished, first solution and supporting evidence, second solution, supporting evidence, you know, using words like could, should, could, ought to give your recommendations, complex sentences all the way through as well. Okay. So that's our two body paragraphs. So now we need to move on to the conclusion. Okay. So in our conclusion, what are we going to do in our conclusion? So we need to summarize the main points. Okay, yeah, everybody's all ahead. So you need a linking phrase which states clearly that now we've moved on to the conclusion. Okay. So in conclusion, as you've said, you know, to summarize, to conclude, to sum up, we have quite a few different variations that we can use there. Yeah, that's right, Mitra, to sum up. Okay, traffic congestion is a serious, okay, very nice, a serious issue, serious problem. Okay, problem or issue, probably serious concern, caveat, that's nice, I like that, yeah, okay. And then we explain what the first cause was, so which is primarily, okay, very nice. Okay, primarily caused by a lack of public transport. Okay, we definitely need the verb there. Okay, I think caused is the best option. And then we put that together with our second cause. Okay, so a lack of public transport. Well, how can we add on the second cause? In addition, you could say in addition to the shared working schedule. Yeah, we've got a with here. Oh, very good, Suzanne. We've got along with, together with, caveat, very good. Coupled with, very nice, Solomon. Combined with, Jordana. Okay, very good. So we put it in the form of along with. But yeah, together with, coupled with, all of those would be very, very nice options as well. Okay. So those were our two causes. Yeah, okay. And then we have our solutions, and now we're in the conclusion. So now you can talk about it subjectively, okay? You can use the word I. Remember, your body paragraphs should always be objective, yeah? But the conclusion, this is now your point of view, so you can use that. So we've got lots of I believe, you know, I recommend that, I suggest that, I propose that. Very nice, Ram. Yeah. Okay. I strongly suggest. Very, very good options there. Okay. So we've had recommend. Okay. That governments. Okay, very nice. Address this issue, Pamela. Tackle this issue. Very good, Shaz and Frempoma. Resolve this issue. Very good. Deal with this issue. Lots of very nice. Solve this issue, Johan. Okay. So we used address. Okay. So that's your opinion. And then you're going to summarize your two solutions that you've got there. Okay, so they address this issue. Okay, very good. Yeah, so how are you doing it? By investing in public transport infrastructure and implementing varied working hours. Okay, through would work as well. And notice again here, you know, we're using vocabulary that we didn't use in the body and that we didn't use in the conclusion. We've got implementing, we've got varied working hours. So city dwellers as well, and we had citizens earlier on. So there's a good range of vocabulary there. And, you know, we're not repeating the same vocabulary. Okay. So that was by. Okay. So that's the presentation. So now we can go to the question and answer and have a look at some of the questions you have.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Annalie. That was a great presentation. And thank you, everyone, for your questions. We have quite a few to get through. But if you do have extra questions, you can ask them in the Q&A box, and we'll start talking about them now. So we have a number of different questions here. The first one is from Aniket, who is asking, they say, I gave my IELTS exam twice and I got 7+ in each of the modules except writing. So what can be done? I think it's a very general question, how to improve their writing to get it up to the same level as the rest of the skills.
And that is quite a common situation where somebody is scoring a little bit lower on the writing than on the other 3 modules. A lot of it is to do with the structure. Okay, you can have very good grammar and you can have very good vocabulary, but if you are not structuring your essay and answering the question in the way that is accepted, then you're going to lose a lot of marks. Okay, remember you've got task response, coherence and cohesion, and then lexical resource and grammar. So 50% of your mark is actually on how you answer the question, and then 50% is really on the language. So it's possible, obviously I don't know because I don't know what happened in this individual case, but it can often be the case that it's, you know, the conclusion is not clear, the supporting evidence is not there, possibly you only addressed one part of the question and didn't address another part. So probably you need to focus on the structure of the essay and the organization of the essay rather than the language.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd agree. And to help with that, we do have a number of similar webinars on different Writing Task 2 topics. So you can check out our Facebook page, and we go over the structure for some different Task 2 and Task 1 questions on there. So yeah, it might be worth looking at them to help give you a clear idea of a structure for the writing task. So yeah, thanks for that, Annalie. Mariam is asking, is it possible to write a cause and a solution in each paragraph of the problem solution essay?
Yes, so you can structure it in two ways. You can have your causes together and your solutions together, or you could have one cause and then the solution to that cause. It has to be very closely linked for you to do it that way. And then second body paragraph, second cause, and the solution for that cause, okay? With all of these ways of doing it, the most important thing is that you clearly show the examiner what you are doing at each point of the essay. So one of the main reasons why, clearly I'm giving a reason here. One of the key solutions could be, I'm giving a solution here. So whichever way you decide, they're both okay, but use these introductory phrases, these linking phrases to show exactly what you're doing in each part of your essay.
Okay, that's great, thanks. Awad has asked a question, how to prepare for the essay exam in 1 week. So,
wow.
Yeah. It's a bit of a tough question. Johan has helpfully provided an answer here, which is to look up a course on Udemy called Kino. I don't have any experience with this, but thank you, Johan, for the suggestion. Annalie, if you have any other suggestions for Awad.
Well, yeah. If it has to be 1 week, I think, again, like I was saying before, really focus on the structure. You know, check very clearly the different types of essays you can get, the different types of layout format that you can use, what's important to put in a conclusion. It's not really possible to improve in terms of language in a week, but certainly in terms of, you know, what's required and what the examiners are looking for, that's something that you could, you know, you could probably make some progress on, even in a short period of time.
Definitely. We do have a lot of example questions and answers, past papers on our website, IELTSonlinetest.com. So if you do want to practice over the next week, you could go onto the website and try some of those sample questions. Okay. I have another question here from Assel, who is asking, in the writing test, will I have time to write a draft and copy it during the exam?
No. Okay, I think it's very, very risky to think of doing a rough draft and then a good draft. You're almost certainly going to end up with half an essay written well. Remember that the examiners are used to reading essays which have pieces, you know, crossed out and little arrows and sentences over here. You know, we're used to that. That's very, very common. I really, really would not recommend trying to do a clean draft. Something you could do is to write your essay on alternate lines, so that if you make a correction, you can write it in the space above and it's a lot clearer to the examiner. You're not trying to squeeze it in between lines. But no, you only really just have time to write one essay. So I wouldn't try and do it again at all.
Definitely. Yep. And we have a related question from Claudia here in the chat, who's asking, do you suggest doing the writing test on a computer?
You mean the actual IELTS test, the computer-based test?
Yeah, I'm not sure, Claudia, if you could let us know. I thought it was maybe like practice writing on the computer. Yeah.
I think one thing, it can be pen or pencil. Okay, that's just a very quick answer.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, it's pen or pencil. I would suggest doing handwritten essays on the paper that you get. You can get them, you know, online somewhere, because you need to know what 250 words looks like in your handwriting, because you don't want to be spending time doing word counts on the day. So if you've practiced, if you've written it out in hand, you know exactly, you know, this is long enough, this is not long enough. if you've done it on a computer, you know, I get my students sometimes send me essays by email and it looks very, very short. But it's actually, you know, it's 300 words. So you can be a bit unsure of your word count, I think, and what your word count looks like on the day. You're not going to have a word count computer. You don't want to spend time doing it yourself. So I would practice by hand.
Yeah, definitely. And I think if it is an option to do the test on the computer, as some of you are pointing out in the chat, I think as long as you've practiced for that format, then it should be exactly the same. I don't think there'll be any advantage or disadvantage to doing it on the computer over written. It's whatever one you're more comfortable with.
Yeah.
My suggestion.
And how you're actually going to do the real test at the time. So practice in the format that you're going to be doing it, either written or computerized.
Yeah, exactly. Great. So we've got a lot of questions to get through. Kier has asked, can essential be used instead of important? Are they synonyms? Essential is stronger.
But yes, it's a perfectly good word to use. It is essential that, it is crucial that. It's probably a bit less common than important. So in that sense, it could be a better word to use.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you. Aman is asking, will we send a PDF of this essay after it's completed? And I can answer that one. We're not able to email you the essay, but the slides from the presentation will be up on our Facebook page. So in the next couple of days, you can go on there. You'll be able to see the video and you'll be able to see the full essay that's in the presentation. So yeah, absolutely.
There's a question Pamela's asked a couple of times because we didn't address it before. You don't lose marks for cancellations, okay? They are not expecting you to do a beautifully written essay with no mistakes in 40 minutes. Like I said before, they're very used to things being crossed out, to things being added. Try and make it as clear as possible, obviously. But you will not lose marks for having written something, crossed it out, and then changed it. Okay, it's not going to make any difference at all.
Yeah, great. Galaxy is asking, are we going to have a paragraph for each outline? So a paragraph for the introduction, a paragraph for the body, and another paragraph for the conclusion. So I think the question here is, how many paragraphs should we have in a typical problem solution essay?
Yeah, and Robin here has the same one. Yeah, in the body, you are going to have 2 paragraphs, okay? Either causes in the first paragraph and solutions in the second paragraph, which is what we did today, or cause and its solution in the first paragraph, cause, a different cause, and its solution in the second paragraph. I would say 2 paragraphs always in the body, plus the introduction, plus the conclusion.
Yeah, definitely. Johan is asking, conclusively or in conclusion, which one would be more acceptable?
In conclusion. Conclusively has a slightly different meaning, so you wouldn't want to use that to introduce your conclusion.
Yeah, absolutely. And a similar question from Galaxy, can initially be used instead of first of all?
Initially, this is a bit like the subsequently. Initially is a time phrase. It relates to the order of something. So you wouldn't want to use that in an essay. It's very good when you do the process question in the task 1, but it's not relevant. It's not appropriate for the task 2 essay.
Yeah, definitely. And Ram is asking, how long should the task 2 essay be?
250 words is your minimum, okay? If you are below 250 words, you will lose marks, a lot of marks in the task response area. So it's really important not to be under 250. There is no penalty for a particularly long essay, but just be aware that you've got 40 minutes, so you have to be able to write it in 40 minutes. and B, a longer essay may lose coherence if there's too much detail, possibly, you know, so you won't really want it to be too long either.
Yeah, definitely. Kier's, sorry, Annalie.
Sorry, it was just a question that came up related to that. All words are counted, okay? Every single word is counted.
Okay, great. Kier is asking, can I use the plan for body paragraphs that we looked at for the problem and solution essay in other types of essay?
Okay, I would say each type of essay has its own format, and we're looking at all of the different types of essay over different webinars, so you will see the different types. I think that the two paragraphs with two distinct topics is going to be pretty much the same, regardless of which kind of essay it is, but the language and what you need to include is going to be different. So I would think about having a different format for each of the types of essay that you can come across in the IELTS.
Definitely. MotoG is asking, when we give an example, can we give real-world examples involving popular personalities?
Oh, popular personalities, that's quite an interesting one. Most commonly examples are of specific cities or specific countries or specific professions. I think if the context was right, you could perhaps use a famous person. It should never be someone you know, but it could, if you were talking about celebrity, you could talk about a famous person to use as a concrete example. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Augustine has a question here. Could you do a webinar of answering statistical writing? And I can answer that one. Yes, Augustine, we absolutely can. We will do one looking at a chart or a graph in the very near future. Sangeetha has a question here saying, how can we calculate word counts after writing quickly? So Annalie, I'll leave you to answer that one. I'll be back in 1 minute. Okay.
Okay. Okay. So there's two things you can do. Okay. The first thing, and the one that I would recommend, is that you practice, as I said before, practice writing by hand on lined paper and know what 250 words looks like in your handwriting, okay? Because then you will be used to it, you'll see it, and you won't have to count. It's a terrible waste of time counting all the words. If you do want to count, a faster way of counting is that you take an average line in your essay and you count the number of words in the average line. Then you count the number of lines, obviously multiply it together, and that gives you a rough estimate of how many words you've written. As I said, I think the best way is to know what that looks like in your handwriting so that you don't really have to be concerned about word count. The more practice you do, the more you're going to see what the right number of words is with the different topics and the supporting evidence.
Definitely. Kier has another question here saying, what is the difference between memorized phrases and commonly used phrases? And how can we avoid a penalty for this?
Mm-hmm. Memorized would be more than just a phrase. I mean, there are set expressions that we use that are perfectly okay to use, these introductory phrases, academic phrases, that's fine. Where you are getting in trouble is where it seems that your whole answer or a whole section of your answer is memorized. Either it's too perfect or it's not quite related to the task, it's a little bit too general. And the examiner may feel then that you've memorized it, but it's not really relevant in connection to specific phrases. It's actually whole parts or the whole essay itself.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. I'd say like a common way you can tell that a phrase is a memorized one is if it's just a kind of empty sentence
Mm,
that doesn't have any specific vocabulary related to the topic. So it would
mm,
something like, there are a number of solutions to this problem.
mm, mm,
This is a kind of stock phrase that can be used for any question, and it does make sense, but it doesn't really it doesn't address the specific problem or the specific solution. So I would try to avoid that kind of phrase and make it a bit more specific. You know,
mm,
fortunately there are a number of solutions to the problem of traffic congestion.
yeah.
This would be fine, just a small change like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, being specific is very, very important. And one of the problems sometimes somebody writes something like, this is a problem for several reasons, and then doesn't continue that. You know, it's just a very vague sentence. It doesn't mean anything at all. So, you know, be really clear, specific with your links and with your examples.
Yeah, excellent. Josie has a question here on timing, saying if we don't have enough time left, is it better to sacrifice the completion of the essay than cramming the content and not following the proper structure?
I would say if you're running out of time, make sure you've got a conclusion, because there are some specific aspects of what the examiner is looking for that are related to the conclusion. If you don't have a conclusion, you're going to get a very, very low mark in task response, whatever you've written before. So make sure that you've got the conclusion. It's better to have shorter body paragraphs. Maybe you just have one solution rather than two solutions. That's not necessarily going to be a big problem, but you know, not getting to your conclusion is going to be a serious problem.
Yeah, definitely. Jane and Aditan are both asking, can we suggest links or sites where we can access more writing task lessons or courses? Aditan is asking, where can I find the webinars for other types of questions? So the webinars you can find on our Facebook page. I've just popped the link for that in the chat. On our website, IELTSonlinetest.com, we have a number of example questions. We have example answers. We are planning to launch a series of courses as well, which you may be able to sign up for in the near future. So you can keep an eye out on that as well. Jane, thanks for asking. I have another question from Zishan here about giving your opinion. Should my opinion be part of the introductory paragraph so that the reader can understand my point of view at the beginning? And then the later part of the essay shows the pros and cons of the opinion. Now, this is more about, my thinking is this is a slightly different type of essay. I'm not sure what your thoughts are on that, Annalie.
Yeah, that sounds more like an opinion essay or a discussion essay, where I think, you know, it's fine to put your opinion at the end of the introduction, and then in the conclusion you expand on that a little bit. With the problem solution essay or the advantages, disadvantages, you are better off, I would say, putting the outline at the end of the introduction rather than a personal opinion. So, you know, this essay will address some advantages and disadvantages, or this essay will address some of the causes and present some solutions, and keep the opinion for the opinion essays in the introduction.
Definitely, thanks. Nabiha is asking, are the words is or counted in a word count?
All the words are counted. All
Yeah.
the words are counted.
Yeah, including, I believe, symbols and percentage signs and things as
In the
well.
task one, yeah,
Yeah.
the numbers and the symbols are
Yeah.
counted as specific words.
Yeah.
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 So that works. Yeah.
Excellent. Now we have a couple of similar questions here. I believe we kind of answered this earlier on, but last minute tips. I have an exam at the weekend, and there is a similar question. Yeah, how to address different types of Yeah. Can you give us some easy approach on how to answer different questions on task 2? I'll take my exam this coming February. Badly need your advice. Yeah. Good luck, Nico. Good luck. Yeah.
Okay, key piece of advice, I think, is make the purpose of all of your sentences clear to the examiner by using introductory phrases and linking phrases, and use the type of essay that it is to inform the introductory sentences that you use. So if you read the question and it says, what are the advantages and disadvantages? Okay, use that language. One of the key advantages of da, 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 is, okay, another main advantage. So you're using the language of each of the different types. Problem solution, you're using things like a key cause, a possible, a promising solution would be, okay? Make your point of view very clear in the conclusion, if it's particularly if it's an opinion essay. Use paragraphs. Have a separate topic in each of the paragraphs and make that topic clear in the first sentence of the paragraph. It's better to have less ideas, probably 2 ideas on each side, but explain those ideas in detail rather than having a list of ideas that you don't develop at all.
Yeah.
Jamie, anything else?
I would agree with that. And I think a similar question is how to approach different types of question. I think you can go through our Facebook group and you can see some of the webinars we've done previously where we cover the different structures you can use for different types of questions. So if you try to, internalize, to learn those structures and then practice applying them for different practice questions, that is probably the best way to quickly boost your score, because as Annalise says, it's very difficult to improve the level of your language in a short amount of time, but you can certainly improve the structure of your writing, which counts for a large proportion of the marks. I'm just putting the links to those resources in the chat here. That's our Facebook page and our website, IELTSonlinetest.com. I'm very sorry, everyone, but we are just about out of time for today. We'll be having another webinar next week on Thursday at the same time. It's 5 p.m. in the UK. If you do have more questions you'd like us to answer, please put them on our Facebook page, send us an email. You can pop them on the website as well. And yeah, we'd love to hear from you. There's a couple of suggested practice tests you can try. Volume 5, Test 5, Volume 4, Test 2. These are both problem and solution essays, so you can practice using the same structure we've looked at today with a different question. So before we go, I'd just like to say thank you very much to Annalie for presenting today and answering so many of your questions. So well done, and thank you, Annalie. And
thanks, everybody.
We hope to see you again next week. So thank you, and have a nice evening.
Thanks, everybody. Good luck for those who've got their exam coming up, okay? Best of luck.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye. Bye-bye.